On today's GSC adventure, we see why you should never trust an electronic gauge sometimes. It's on the OG54. I'll flip it around, talk about and show you kind of what we're dealing with here. This is my 54 Chevrolet pickup truck on an S10 frame with a 327 in it. And it's been reading, we don't have oil pressure on the digital gauge. So I've been trying to figure out what's going on. I've got a little bit of a leak underneath on the driver's side. That's another story, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But I went ahead and pulled this thing apart today and installed a mechanical gauge up under the hood of this small block. I used the front port here off the timing cover, and I left my electric gauge in the back. As you can see, the sender kind of down there, the gold. Ran my line up through the firewall and here in the interior. Now, I did this mostly because I was having issues with it reading only about 20-25 pounds. When it was warm, it was making even less, going to 0 on the digital gauge. So this was my fix, was throw an old mechanical style gauge in it. I checked, made sure the PCV was clear, made sure my breather cap here was venting and doing what it was supposed to do. Pretty much checked all my bases and found that really nothing was that far out, and the engine still sounds fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and get in this and fire it up and show you. Don't mind the fact that it's not charging. The alternator is taking a crap, and my spare one is not a one-wire. So clutch, key, gas. Okay, so my digital gauge here on the dash is reading below 25 pounds-ish. And my gauge over here, Mr. Mechanical, is reading well over 25 pounds. Get a little gas. Right around 50. And this is right around 30. So I'm going to assume that oil pressure is fine in this, especially since as I continue to play with this, get back down here. Yeah, it's definitely making a plethora of oil pressure. So if you have any kind of an engine, small block, big block, diesel, whatever suits your fancy and tickles your fancy, check your gauges. And don't just jump to the conclusion if I blew something up, because I'll be honest, this engine has been tied up before. It has given me a lot of problems over the last 15 years. And when it runs amazing. When it doesn't run, it doesn't run at all. So this was kind of a breath of fresh air. But if you've got a small block and you're trying to figure it out, or even an old inline 6 from one of these Chevy trucks, go ahead and find yourself a nice galley to plug in. Get yourself a line gauge kit. This was a cheap Napa one. It was like 12 bucks. Keep your digital gauge in if you can. If you can't, get a T and run it off. It should be 1/4 inch MPT. Run up in there, get into the cab and see what you find, and hopefully you'll see that you have oil pressure. And if you don't have oil pressure, well, then Godspeed and good luck, because we all know that engine swaps are not a whole lot of fun, but it's not the end of the world, and it can make any project continue on, especially like when they sit here as a giant shelf. So we'll get back to that one eventually. But now you know, if you've got a small block or any kind of engine that's reading funky on the gauge, put a mechanical gauge in it and just test it, because digital gauges are not always the end all be all. Good luck. I hope this helps some of you guys out, and enjoy.